Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajgacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Srimati Divine Grace of Vaishnava Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya, PPT founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Bhagavan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Namo Vishnu 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 Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We chant together. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Hare Krishna. That's better. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're chanting from canto number 3, chapter 28, titled Kapila's Instructions on. Rather, we're in the wrong chapter here. 32. We're on chapter 32, titled Entanglement or Infruitive Activities. Some of you got a heart attack. Oh no, we went backwards. We're on chapter 32, Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. Text number 37. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya. Swarupam te chaturvidham. Swarupam te chaturvidham. Kalasya chavyakta gatir. Kalasya chavyakta gatir. Yontar bhavati jantishu. Yonantar bhavati jantishu. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya. Swarupam te chaturvidham. Kalasya chavyaktir gater. Yonantar bhavati jantishu. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya. Swarupam te chaturvidham. Kalasya chavyaktir gater. Yontar bhavati jantishu. Dvidam. Kalasya chavyaktir gater. Yontar bhavati jantishu. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya. Swarupam te chaturvidham. Kalasya chavyakta gater. Yontar bhavati jantishu. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya. Swarupam te chaturvidham Kalasya cha vyaktagatir Yontar dhavati jantishu. Anyone else? Pravocham bhakti yogasya Swarupam te chaturvidham Kalasya cha vyaktagatir Yontar dhavati jantishu. You want to have a go? Pravocham bhakti yogasya Swarupam te chaturvidham Kalasya cha vyaktagatir Yoanta dhavati jantushu. Word for word, Pravocham explained Bhakti yogasya of devotional service, Swarupam the identity, te to you, chatuvidam in 4 divisions, kalasya of time, cha also, abhyaktagatehe the movement of which is imperceptible, yaha which, antardhavati chases, jantushu the living entities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Haricharananda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: My dear mother, I have explained to you the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. I have explained to you as well how eternal time is chasing the living entities, although it is imperceptible to them. Purport: the process of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is the main river flowing down towards the sea of the Absolute Truth, and all other processes mentioned are just like tributaries. Lord Kapila is summarizing the importance of the process of devotional service. Bhakti Yoga, as described before, is divided into 4 divisions, 3 in the material modes of nature and 1 in transcendence, which is untinged by the modes of material nature. Devotional service mixed with the modes of material nature is a means for material existence, whereas devotional service without desires for fruit of result and without attempts for empirical, philosophical research is pure, transcendental devotional service. Translation again. My dear mother, I have explained to you the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. I have explained to you as well how eternal time is chasing the living entities, although it is imperceptible to them. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragutatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachalam bhangam langayate grim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So, this is the final chapter of Lord Kapila's instructions to his mother Devahuti, and he's now summarizing the whole teachings that he's given to his mother. And these next couple of verses talk about those who are qualified and those who are disqualified from accepting this knowledge. So 37 and 38, Kapila Dev is wrapping up, because when one asks a question, it is natural for the speaker or the person answering to clarify, to make sure that the one who's asking question understands what is being heard. So Kapila Dev in 37 and 38 is summarizing everything he's spoken to his mother. Rather, these 4 questions that his mother asks in between about time, the living entities entangled, the immaterial existence, and devotional service. These, and there's one more there as well. So time, how living entities are stuck in time and entangled material existence, devotional service, and there's a 4th question I'm forgetting. But these 4 questions in these 2 verses, Kapila Dev is mentioning to his mother that I've now answered them. And it's quite reassuring actually. It's all about personalism. It's not just, just speak, throw it at the other person and just leave. Kapila Dev is making sure his mother understands. And then you have after that, text 40 onwards, talk about the qualifications. Those who are qualified to get these instructions and those who are disqualified. And we'll read about them later. Those who are envious, those who are agnostics, those who are hypocrites, those who are proud of material possessions, and so on and so forth. So in this 37, Lord Kapila has told his mother that he is explaining the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. Pravocham Bhakti Yogasya Swarupam Te Chatur Vidham. So when we hear this word Chatur Vidham, what generally comes to our mind? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, immediately it comes to Varnashram Dharma. Does anyone remember the verse? Chaturvarnya Mayashishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha Kartaram Tasya Kartaram Vidhi Apimam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. So this is 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that he has instituted the 4 divisions, Varna and Ashramas. So we immediately think Chaturvidam means that. But actually in the purport, Prabhupada explains. Here, in the translation, Prabhupada says the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. But in the purport, what does Prabhupada say? Bhakti Yoga is described before is divided into 4 divisions. 3 in the material modes of nature and 1 in transcendence, which is untinged by the modes of material nature. Very interesting, because that's exactly what Kapila Dev has spoken about. In fact, he spoke about both, but he spoke specifically about Bhakti Yoga and the 3 modes of material nature. Yes? Does anyone remember, because this was explained repeatedly, does anyone remember what it means by modes in the material nature? Bhakti Yoga and the modes of material nature. Because Bhakti Yoga is transcendental, right? It's not affected by the modes. But what does it mean by Bhakti Yoga divided into 4 divisions, 3 in the modes of material nature and 1 in transcendence? What does that mean? Can anyone clarify? Maybe the question is this. I'll give you the question. The question is, if Bhakti Yoga is transcendental, beyond the modes of nature, how can we categorize Bhakti Yoga being tinged by the modes of material nature? Can anyone explain? Yes, Prabhu. Mm-hmm. With the tinge of modes. Okay, very good. Sadhu, sadhu. Very good. So here, the modes of nature, it doesn't affect Bhakti Yoga. What it affects is the practitioner of Bhakti Yoga. You know, we often hear that we bring baggage into devotional service. What is that baggage? Is it that little suitcase you bring to the ashram? Huh? No, it's not that. It's actually the impressions in the heart, the samskaras, the conditionings we bring to devotional service. If you notice, when we practice devotional service the first time, or when we come into contact with devotional service and the devotees, we are very careful to practice, if you think about it. We're very careful to practice. Like when you chant Hare Krishna, you're very careful to chant the holy name. Because you don't know what the holy name is, how to pronounce it. But you're very careful to pronounce it, right? When you first hear the holy name, you see the three words, and you see them arranged in such a way, you get confused. You know, sometimes when you're doing a program, you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sometimes people mix it up. They say Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. They mix up, but then they become very careful. How to put it in order, how to pronounce it, everything. When the devotees come to him, Prabhu, Mataji, you have to chant carefully the holy name, otherwise it's offense. And you think, oh, it's offense. I have to be very careful. Then you chant Hare Krishna for some time, then you think about the four regulative principles, and you start following carefully. But then over a period of time, what happens? We become too familiar. Right? And then after some time you realize, hey, but I was a pure devotee, the holy name is not working now, all these bad qualities are coming up. But actually it's because we let go of that careful practice of devotional service. And on top of that, actually it wasn't our own practice alone that gave us the mercy. It was us following the instructions of another devotee that gave the mercy. That's the core principle, Guru Parampara. It is the mercy of another devotee which is allowing us to practice Krishna consciousness. It is the mercy, that's why it says, it's the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we are given such a high practice of spirituality, the topmost practice of Krishna consciousness in the worst of times. Of course, it's going to get worse. But Mahaprabhu, in this day and age, in Kali Yuga, it's not scheduled to give the inhabitants Atma Tattva, what to speak of the pure loving service of the residents of Vrindavan. But it's the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we get this. So when we practice devotional service, we hear and we practice, right? We do as we're told. Because everything is new. We don't know what's happening. You come, you see, I don't know how many people came first time when you come to temple. I remember when I first came to Krishna consciousness, at that time Bharat Prabhu's flat, Ghanshyam Prabhu was there as well. There was the murti or the deity of Srila Prabhupada, the one that's in the farm. He was here before, and then they were in the process of giving him or moving him to the farm and getting who we see Prabhupada here now. And at that time he was staying at Bharat Prabhu's place for some time. And I was new to Krishna consciousness. I just came for a Bhakti Vriksha program. And when I came and opened the door, I was shocked. Oh, there's sadhu sitting here. And what is the sadhu looking at? They had put a picture of Radha Gopinath pasted on the wall. So, he's looking at the picture on the wall. And then Ghanshyam Prabhu and Bharat Prabhu was like, come in. And Prabhupada was sitting right there in the way. So, how I can, like this. And then we walk past and Swamiji Hare Krishna. And then you walk past, then I realized, hey, I did it. It took me until the end of the program to realize actually it's Murti. It's not live presence of Srila Prabhupada. But you see like that, right? Then you pay obeisances carefully, everything is there, you do devotional service properly. With proper guidance, you follow the instructions, everything is there. But then with complacency, we let go. And that's when the moods start creeping in. The modes start creeping in: goodness, passion, and ignorance. What is goodness characterized by? Knowledge. Right? It's characterized by knowledge. In fact, Krishna goes to the extent of saying all the gates of the body are illumined by knowledge. It's not that suddenly, light comes from the eyes and all the orifices of the body. Right? No. It means that you know how to use each of these senses properly. Illumined by knowledge means you can see and you know how to use them. Okay? But what is the downfall? What is the pitfall of the mode of goodness? Pride. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that actually being a Brahmana is not the end all. Because if you're a Brahmana, you're simply in the mode of goodness. That's it. You may have understood Brahman, but you're simply in the mode of goodness. What does that mean? Punar Musika Bhava. Again become a mouse. Again you take birth in this material world because you're not transcendental to the modes. Only the devotee is liberated from the modes. Okay, so that's the pitfall, the one in the mode of goodness. So without having to talk about goodness in Bhakti Yoga and goodness and things like that, we'll go to the next one. What is passion? Characterize? Attraction? A bit more details. Attraction means? Because in goodness one is attracted by knowledge. So what is passion? What is the attachment? You're there, you're halfway there. What is the attachment to? Yeah, but there's something more specifically. Attachment to? Anyone else? Sense desire, sense gratification, sense objects. So come on, there's two words I'm expecting. The results of one's activities, specifically. Fruitive, that's why it's called fruitive action. One works for the result. Right? And what's the pitfall of this particular mode? Of being in this particular mode of passion? What is the problem? Frustration, anger, unfulfilled desires. Right? And you can see that reflected in devotional service, right? Krishna, I have been chanting for 1 month and I'm still not getting Krishna prem. Right? And this Prabhu did that, Mataji did that, blah, 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 all these things, right? So it's reflected in. Then ignorance. What is ignorance characterized by? A lot of devotees can tell this one, especially in Bhagavatam class. Yes, inertia, yeah, laziness, right? don't curse me, please. I'm just repeating Shastra. And what's the problem with the mode of ignorance? One assumes religion to be irreligion and irreligion to be religion. In other words, one does not know what's right and what's wrong. Right? So then, there in devotional service, you'll see that. You know, sometimes people say, no, what I'm doing is right, but actually it's in the complete opposite direction. Right? So these modes of nature, they're all combining. The Prabhupada says, the 3 modes again multiply themselves and become 9, and then again multiply and become 81. In that way, when you see a rope, right, it's not single strand, it's multiple strands all weaved together, right? And when those strands of rope become tied to the living entity, and that knot, have you heard of a pig knot before? When you tie your shoelace and you pull it, and suddenly becomes a big clump that no matter how much you try, it just stays like that. Then eventually you think, I just have to cut it, there's no hope, right? That's how material nature becomes. It becomes so entangled. Prahlad Maharaj, he gives it from a different perspective. He talks about an unnecessary load on our head. We become conditioned to carry that load. You know, Prabhupada gives that story of how one old lady was passing, right? And she had a bundle of sticks on her head and she was just struggling. And then suddenly she tripped a little bit and it fell. And she got up and then she dusted herself and then Krishna appeared. She was in Vrindavan. Krishna appeared. And Krishna said, my dear lady, how can I help you? She said, she's like, Krishna, she calls out to Krishna because everything falls. And Krishna says, how can I help you having appeared? She says, can you please put it back on my head? Right? Well, of course, we don't know the Prabhupada saying that just see, material, from a point of view or perspective of materialists, just see. Again, taking the burden and continuing with material life. Right? So all of these burdens come on the head, not of material existence. Right? Vimudhan, Udbhavato Vimudhan. That's what Prahlad Maharaj says. That Nai Tat, how does it begin? Nai I'm mixing up shlokas in the head. That virya gayana mahamrita magna chitta sochetato vimukha chetasi indriyartha maya sukhaya bharamudbhavato mudha. Maya sukhaya. Right. So this is the modes of nature that are entangling us, right? And how are these modes entangling? And these modes entangling us is enacted by time also. By time we are performing so many material activities, and the results of our activities are coming to us. Yeah? So once Gopaleshwar Prabhu was here in Sydney, and he's explaining that time actually brings the result of our karma. Right? How it happens, what's the circumstance in which it happens, that is determined by, of course, Paramatma. But when it comes, how it comes, time is there. Right? If at a particular time you're supposed to get a certain amount of happiness and distress, it will come. Just like how in a group or a herd of cows, the calf will find its mother, the karma will find you. Right? You cannot escape. But when one performs devotional service, one is freed from all sinful activities. Right? One is freed from all sinful activities. If one performs devotional service purely. Anya abhishita sunyam jnana karma anavritam Krishna anukulyena Krishnas anusilam bhaktir uttama. Devotional service, whereas devotional service without desires for fruitive result and without attempts for empirical philosophical research is pure transcendental devotional service. It is this type of devotional service rather, that will give full satisfaction to the heart. Ahoitaki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. That is where the satisfaction of heart will be. If one practices devotional service and doesn't feel satisfaction of heart, it's because one's devotion is full of hetu. It has a cause. In other words, a material motive for oneself. When we say we were running Bhakti Sangha programs in the temple, right? And we were inviting a lot of devotees, a lot of people, Bhaktas and Bhaktins. We distributed books to the street. And at this particular point in time, I had a group of people from the European background. And they came to see the temple and everything. And at that time, there was a Prabhupada disciple sitting here, and I was explaining to the European group, these new visitors, that this is Srila Prabhupada, this is his deity. We worship him because he's given us devotional service. He's the founder of the movement, and why he's glorified all over the world is because he gave Krishna consciousness without any motive. Right? He gave it freely, without any cause, without any motive. And so I explained everything, and then they were happy and they left, and I gave Mahaprasad. And then later on, Kanshapu called me and he said that actually this Mataji that was listening, she was very happy that you were glorifying Srila Prabhupada, but she wanted you to add one more thing to the glorification. That Prabhupada was giving Krishna consciousness without any material motive. Because people from outside of devotional service do not understand that, because they'll mistake without motive to be equivalent to that of the impersonalists, the Buddhists, right? That they, there's no happiness, no distress, there's just nothing, or there's just oneness. No motive means, free from both, right? So she was saying, we can mention specifically for them that it was without any material motive, without any particular personally motivated desire. It was simply for Krishna's pleasure. So this is a very important point. Hetu doesn't mean without any cause. Right? Rather, ahoituki doesn't mean without any cause. Ahoituki means without personal motive. So if you're performing devotional service and there's some personal motive there, then we're in trouble. Therefore, Prabhupada says when we speak or sing or glorify Krishna, there should not be any material motive. Therefore, Prabhupada makes it so important point. He makes it so obvious that we should not perform devotional service for some material benefit. And he gives the example of the Bhagavad Saptaha. They suddenly go to the Rasalila and they'll speak all of these things. And Prabhupada says afterwards you'll see them smoking bidi in the corner, smoking cigarettes. And they'll beg all of this money from people because they'll profess to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, but they'll maintain their materialistic household life based on this money. So there's no benefit. Once Prabhupada, he was in his room writing. doing his correspondence, and one devotee came to him. And this devotee had actually been engaged by Prabhupada to translate Prabhupada's books into French, right? So he was translating these books. And he came to Prabhupada, and he sat before Prabhupada, and because of he paid obeisance, he sat before Prabhupada, and the heaviness of his desire, what he wanted to ask, he couldn't say anything. So Prabhupada asked him, yes? And he said to Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada, is it possible that I may get some Lakshmi because I'm translating these books? I may be paid for doing this service. And so Prabhupada just looked at him very neutrally, and he sent him off. And later on he was telling one of his personal servants and the disciples that, just see, he's such a nice boy, but he's asking for money for devotional service. Right? And Prabhupada was very disturbed, very unhappy with that, because he was telling his disciples that actually you should not be remunerated for devotional service. Otherwise the devotional service will be substandard. It won't be completely pleasing to Krishna because there's some motive. As soon as that whatever we're getting from Krishna stops, what also stops along with that? Our service stops. You know, when we chant Hare Krishna in the morning and no taste comes, and we blame Krishna for the offenses we make against the holy name, what do? We feel like stopping chanting. We feel like doing something else. This is where the part of apratihata comes. It should be without interruptance. It should not be interrupted. It should not be disturbed. So what disturbs our devotional service? Material desires. That's what disturbs our service. And you can notice it very clearly. You'll be sitting in Srimad Bhagavatam class, and the speaker will be speaking. And in your mind what will go on? I have to do this. I have to do that. When is he going to finish? When is prasadam? My leg is paining. Radha Gopinath looks nice today. So many thoughts will come to the mind. Right? That's all because of one's own desire for one's own maintenance. Whereas those devotees, such as yourselves, will tolerate such harassment of the mind and continue hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is our liberation. That is what liberates us from material existence. Okay? So, I just explained a bit about the modes of nature, the bhakti in the modes of nature, and bhakti beyond the modes of nature. Pure devotional service. Anya avadistha sunyam jnana karnadi anavatam. But it's quite interesting here that Prabhupada in the beginning of the purport actually says, the process of Bhakti Yoga devotional service is the main river flowing down towards the sea of the absolute truth. And all other processes mentioned are just like tributaries. You know what tributaries are? You don't know? You don't know? Who knows? Yeah, so when you have this big river going down to the sea, and all these small little rivers and rivulets, they come and connect to that and come down to the sea. Right? So, we need to mention a couple of points to clarify that. Prabhupada, because this analogy of rivers going to the sea, it's often misquoted by who? Mayavadis. Mayavadis. Very careful we must be. Because what do they say? If all these rivers and tributaries go down to the ocean, what do they say? Come on, it's so simple. Prabhupada chastises so many times. Yato mat tato pat. Then everything anything you do leads to the same goal, doesn't matter. And then what Anandavardhan Prabhu said at the end? Everything merges. You merge into the sea. These are two things we have to be very careful of. Kicking out, Prabhupada says. We should kick out this impersonal. Because it's within the heart. It's within the heart. And when you practice devotional service, it impedes your devotional service. My Guru Maharaj mentions that it's like a lump in the heart. It prevents you from freely expressing your loving service to Radha Gopinath. It appears as doubts. It appears as misgivings. It appears as ignorance. It simply obstructs our loving devotional service to Radha Gopinath. Right? So what is this impersonalism, this big demon within the heart? They say that all the oceans, all the rivers and all the connecting tributaries, they all go to the ocean, everything merges, everything is one, all paths lead to the same goal, and everything becomes one in the end. But Our predecessors acharyas, namely Rupa Goswami, especially in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it comes strongly in the mind. Right? We'll go straight to the merging part. We'll come back to the tributaries in 1 second. What does he say? That their understanding or their explanation of this merging of the ocean is incomplete. Why? Because it's mentioned that there's still living entities within the rivers and the oceans. That the water may come to the ocean, but actually the living entities within the rivers, they go deep and deep and deep within the ocean, and they relish. So what does that mean? That all of these persons are saying that we merge into the Brahman, they remain superficial, on the top level. Right? Again they'll fall down into material existence, having merged into Brahman. But the devotees, they are deeply absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and they relish that rasa with the Lord. And they're the living entities that are swimming within the depths of that bhakti rasa, the ocean of bhakti, or the nectar of devotional service. Right? And now coming back to the tributaries, already Kapila Deva has explained before, no matter what process you perform that's authorized, don't forget that. There are many processes, of course, authorized processes. Not just make up whatever you want, hot yoga, cold yoga, this yoga, that yoga, Pilates, this, that, the other. No. Authorized, Hatha yoga, Ashtanga yoga, right? All of these authorized processes, Dhyana yoga, Karma yoga, Jnana yoga. Everything that is done without a tinge of devotional service will not lead to the goal or the absolute truth. It is like a tributary being misled. Like, you know, we have the Yamuna coming down to Vrindavan, but near Delhi they have the dam, right? It's like that. It gets diverted. Does that make sense? If it's not in connection with Krishna, yoga, then it becomes diverted. It does not go to the goal. Prabhupada says, at least some fraction of devotional service has to be there. It's in yesterday's purport. Unless one adds devotional service to all activities, he cannot achieve the desired result. But when Bhakti Yoga is prominent in every activity, then the ultimate goal is sure. This we must be completely convinced about. If you see a impersonalist achieving Brahman realization, it is because there's some tinge of devotional service there. Something is there. Although it's perverted, although it's painful to the Lord, it's still there. Why is it painful to the Lord? Because they're doing devotional, some form of service, but they're also beating the Lord by saying that He doesn't exist, there's no form. Right? What does Mahaprabhu say to Mukunda? When Mukunda comes, devotees ask for Mukunda's liberation, that my dear Lord, you're giving everyone else benedictions, but why you're not calling forward Mukunda? What does he say? That Mukunda, I don't want to see his face. He is an offender. He is a blasphemer. Why? Although he sings sweetly with the devotees, he goes and associates with the impersonalists and the Mayavadis. And like that, he's beating me. Right? The Lord feels like you're beating him by explaining these things. He feels pain. Like, for example, Varahadev, when he was fighting against Hiranyaksha, golden eye, Hiranyaksha, right? His eye was also always looking for gold. Prabhupada says that he mined the earth so much of gold that she lost her ability to float. That's why she fell into the ocean. So, that Hiranyaksha, when he was berating the Lord or insulting the Lord with such bad words that you're from the forest and you're lowly and all that sort of stuff, it's mentioned that Varahadev felt pain in his heart. He is transcendental. He can choose not to get affected. But he is explained by Sukadev Goswami, Maitreya Rishi, that he felt pain in his heart. So the Lord does feel the pain, although it's not something we can understand. And that's why, as Ghanshyam Prabhu was mentioning yesterday, that the Lord's compassion is there. He's always looking to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. He's always looking to make the best use of any small amount of service rendered by the jiva. This is the Lord's mercy. So, there needs to be a tinge of devotional service in any activity for it to be complete or to get some sort of success. Okay? If you worship demigods, their condition, your condition, what's the result? They won't be able to save you. Right? Kamesh taste hita jnana prabadyate anya devata. that even they, by foolish people, will take shelter of demigods for temporary results. The demigods can't give anything that is lasting, but Krishna can. So now, these 2 points, I hope they are clear, that although there are many tributaries going along with the main river of devotional service to the Supreme Absolute Truth, they are authorized processes and they are also tinged with devotional service. Okay? And the merging in the ocean of the river, that's a superficial understanding. There are, just as the creatures within the ocean, within the rivers go into the ocean and they remain separate from the ocean, but they stay deep within the water. Similarly, the philosophy Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva takes place. The jiva, or the devotee, is always in union with the Lord, but individuality always remains. They're one in purpose with the Lord. Whatever the Lord wants, they're ready to do, but their individuality remains in place. Okay? So, to give a good example of this understanding, so here we're talking about pure devotional service. Excuse me. In pure devotional service, we are often instructed to read about Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. Because Dhruva Maharaj shows that akama sarva kamama moksha kamo daridi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. That even if Dhruva Maharaj had some sort of material motive to perform devotional service, what was his motive? To get a kingdom greater than even his grandfather? Great-grandfather. Brahma's son Swayambhu. Swayambhu's son Uttanapad. Uttanapad's son Dhruva Maharaj. Okay? So he went to the forest. And when he went to the forest, Narad Muni intercepted him and said, "Hey, you're just a small boy. Why are you getting, just a Kshatriya boy. Don't get uselessly riled up by some words. Go back. You're a small boy, go back to your mother." And what did Dhruva Maharaj say? Everything is entering, but I can't seem to accept it. So if you're here to help me, otherwise please, I'm going to continue. So then, Narad Muni, being pleased with his determination, transformed his whole desires by giving him initiation. He gave him the mantra, gave him the process, and Dhruva Maharaj worshipped the Lord. He worshipped the Lord to the extent that he forgot his desire. It's mentioned that he was so absorbed in the Lord within the heart. Within the heart, he did not know what was happening. When the Lord in the heart disappeared, what was he hankering for? The kingdom? No, he opened his eyes to see where the Lord had gone. And the Lord was standing right in front of him as Prishni Garbha. And what does he eventually pray to the Lord? Swamin Ktaktosmi Varam Nayache. I don't want all of these benedictions. They're like broken pieces of glass. What need is there for broken pieces of glass when I have a precious jewel like you? But what happened? The Lord still wanted to give him the benediction. That you still stay here, you'll get my abode. It's mentioned that abode, the Dhruva Loka that we mentioned now, was actually Swetadvip. That was where the Lord resides on the Milk Ocean. He gave him that planet. You take it. After you rule here, go there. Come and stay with me. Right? So you just see what we can say about Dhruva Maharaj's devotional service. It was by the mercy of Narada Muni and his mother that he was able to progress so fast and get pure devotional service. And Prahlad Maharaj, what do we learn from Prahlad Maharaj's story? Did he have any material motive? No. What did we learn from Prahlad Maharaj's story about pure devotional service? It was apratihata. No matter how many obstacles were placed before him, no matter how many times Hiranyakashipu tried to dispirit him, Prahlad Maharaj came out victorious. Right? To the extent even he even taught his father. Yeah, best of the demons. He called his father and he gave him shiksha also, Matirna Krishna Paratosatova. Right? He told his father also, where are you getting all this knowledge? You can't get it from one's own self, or Matirna Krishna Parato, from others, no. Vito pipatyate griha vritanam adanta gopir vijitam tamishram puna charvata charvananam. So Prahlad Maharaj's story talks about that aspect you can also take. Apratihata. Ahoitoki, apratihata. Yatma su prasidati. So these are two examples you can understand of pure devotional service. And I'll end with this one point of, I wanted to speak about Mahaprabhu's Leela. The compassion of the Lord and how pure devotional service is easily accessible to us. Okay? So one particular point in time, Mahaprabhu had spent 4 years as a sannyasi. 2 years he had spent in South India, 2 years in Puri. And then he decided to go to Vrindavan. And on the way to Vrindavan, he came across a section at the outskirts of Orissa. And in the outskirts of Orissa, he was with a governmental officer that was sent by Prataparudra Maharaj. And that governmental officer said, you see on the other bank of this river, actually there is a Yavana, a Mlecha governor there. And that person, he's such a dacoit, he's a drunkard, that when anyone comes across the river, he'll pillage them, kill them, take their things and go. Without his permission, you cannot cross. So then he told Mahaprabhu, please stay here for a few days. I will reach out to him and I'll try to do something. And so Mahaprabhu what did he do? He stayed with his personal associates and he just simply chanted, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he was engaged in chanting and dancing. And while this particular minister was going around arranging something to meet that Mlecha, at that time the Yavana king, the Yavana governor, the Mlecha governor had sent one of his personal secretaries. It's mentioned Visvas, someone who has full faith and who's very dedicated to the king. He had come dressed as a Hindu, it's mentioned, Hindu Vesh. And he entered into that village Mahaprabhu was. And upon seeing Mahaprabhu, he was amazed that here is such a great personality exhibiting all the eightfold symptoms of pure devotional service, bodily ecstasies. And what happened to this person? He could not stop chanting himself. He could not stop dancing. Most of the symptoms of ecstatic love appeared on his body also. And then he went back to the Yavana king and he told him, look, I don't know who this person is, but he must be the Supreme Personality Godhead himself. He must be. He's a liberated person at least, full of all transcendental opulences. This is simply chanting this Krishna and Hari. He's, completely inundating this whole world. He's associated with the Yavana. Yavana means, 5th class, 6th class person. They can't even chant the holy name. They can't, what to speak of glorify the Lord. And he's coming and glorifying the Lord to this king. And the king gets shocked. And he says, really? And he sees in this minister's body all the ecstasy starts erupting all over his body. Just simply by seeing him chanting Krishna and Hari, going mad in front of him. And then he just makes his mind and he says, no. He sends his secretary, another one. He sends, go and make peace with his great personality. Tell him I would like to meet him before he comes. Right? This guy is a dacoit. He's a thief. He's committed abominable sins. He's killed a cow. He's tortured and harassed the brahmanas. He's in an extremely low position. But still he sends, and then Mahaprabhu receives. And the government minister that's there is completely shocked. Like, he first sees the secretary that's come, completely in ecstasy. And then he sees that the same person that, is against the Vedic Dharma coming and requesting audience with Mahaprabhu. And he's completely shocked. Anyway, fast forward, there's a conversation there. And then finally this Yavana governor comes. And as soon as he comes, he pays obeisance to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from a distance. And he's imbued with pure devotional service. Just by seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstasy. Nothing else. He did not chant. He did not do anything. He just simply came and saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And was immediately endowed with pure devotional service. And he began chanting Krishna, Hari, incessantly. Tears came from his eyes. And he immediately came before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and paid full Dandavat Pranam. So this is the extent of just seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Face to face. But here's the thing. Did you know that we are seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu face to face every single day? Just because he's not physically present in that form doesn't mean he's not physically present here, that in front of our eyes. Is he here or is he not here? Is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here? Yes or no? Are you seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day? Yes or no? No? At least you're honest. Yes or no? We are seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day. Whether we realize it or not, we are seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day. He is there. He is dancing and chanting along with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Right? And so Prabhupada says in these purports, he's saying that he's establishing this Krishna Balaram Mandir to teach the world that Gaur Nitai and Krishna Balaram, they are non-different, and that everyone should take shelter of them. If you take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, it's non-different from taking shelter of Krishna Balaram and Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Hayanya. You're taking shelter of Radha Gopinath. And if by just seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with that sincerity, one is able to get pure love of Godhead, where are we in devotional service? A long way to go. But when we see a pure devotee of the Lord, we get even more greater chances or opportunity of getting pure love of Godhead. Right? And that's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And this is the mercy we're getting through Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada wrote Bhagavatam, these Bhaktivedanta purports every night, carefully, to bestow upon us devotional service. So what did we learn today? We learned that the river that's being mentioned here that enters the ocean, right? They're all, the tributaries are all authorized processes, but they will not give success unless it's tinged or at least dovetailed with devotional service. And it's not that when one reaches the end, one merges into the Supreme. No. There's activity. Just as there's aquatics within the ocean, there's activity or relationship with the Lord. And then we talked about the modes of nature and devotional service of those who are affected by the modes. Not devotional service in the modes, but devotional service practiced by those affected by the modes of material nature. Okay? And then there's the transcendental platform of devotional service, as exhibited by Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, so I'll end here. Thank you very much for listening. If there is any comments or questions, otherwise I'll end class. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
My question is this, gentles should not be taken as animals, but predominantly human beings? Is that the way we should understand?
Context. We should take context. When it says Jantu Uchuhu, it refers to the human child within the womb. But Jantu here, Prabhupada is translating specifically as living entities. Context. Same thing with Atma. Atma can be mind, Atma can be body, Atma can be soul, right? But it's context. So we should be careful not to generalize in that sense. Devuti Maharani is asking in terms of the living entities in general, right? But Sri Kapila Dev is giving both. He's giving the human beings and the living entities both. That's why he's giving the word Jantu. Yeah, all living entities. Okay, I'll end here. Oh, okay. Ian Prabhu. Yeah, Hare Krishna. It's very simple. It's like, you do a bit more pious activities and you go to the heavenly planets, right? And if you're good enough, then you may become a chief, like Indra, Varuna, those guys. Guys, I say, but those demigods, sorry, they're also devotees of the Lord. But they're limited in what they can do. Unless you perform the sacrifice, and unless your sacrifice is perfect, they cannot give you the result. And that too, they can only give you what you ask, what that sacrifice is, and what you ask for in that particular sacrifice, if you're qualified. They cannot give you any less. If it's not good for you, they can't not give you. They're forced to give you. And if it's anything more you want, they cannot give you that as well. So they're limited. And when they die, their benediction goes with them. Does that make sense? And secondly is when you die, that benediction dies with your body as well. It doesn't carry on. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll end here. It's getting late. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.